Can you imagine trying to reel in a 130-pound catfish on the Mississippi out of a canoe under the arch? Well, guess what? You can. And when you're done, just head down to Broadway Oyster Bar, south of Busch Stadium, and have that same catfish, well, maybe not that particular one, in an off-the-charts po' boy. Trust us. Check out ExploreSTL.com to build your world record catfish fishing trip right here in the Lou. Now, today we chatted with Jim Tietjens, literally on his third heart due to an awful genetic disease. He tells his stories that would make you think he had 50 more waiting, given his kindness and view on life. One of the original high school draft picks in the NASL, Jim talks about his soccer path, life, and his new book, Saves. So let's go. It's that time. It's been a little dreary lately, man.
Yeah, I think it's going to be yucky for, we're in the early spring doldrums where it's going to be, don't put the cart before the horse a little bit. It's going to be nice some days, but we're just not there yet.
Do you prefer fall dreary or spring dreary?
Spring and I know you're the opposite, but I like 100 degrees and mosquito bites, and you like.
I like 68-degree pubs and cold yellow beer.
Yeah, I want to sweat and I want to pull open.
Yeah, so I decided to roll us in here with a little LZ, little Zeppelin, good times, bad times, because it feels like one of those days. Good day, bad day. I don't know. Plus, it's rock and roll. I like the guitar, right? You listen to this?
Yeah, this is a good one. This is a favorite of mine.
It just makes you feel good.
This is on multiple of my playlist.
So when you're driving at 5:07 a.m. in the morning in God's country, when this comes on, do you turn it up real loud?
No. I will listen to total.
You don't do talk radio, do you?
A little bit. I usually hit the total information AM for the traffic and for just the hot button news, and then once it gets political, I turn that off, and then I kind of just. Sometimes I do music, sometimes I do podcasts. I don't know. I'm hit and miss.
Do you ever just turn it off and roll the windows down a little bit and listen to the? Is that white noise or is that brown noise?
I don't. No, I don't ever do that.
You don't zen out? I think, you know what? Try it. Find your core, Jared.
I will.
Hey, we got another episode today, the Soccer Dad Pod. Really appreciate all the support. So many of you continue to listen. We see the numbers. I would just ask, just take 2 seconds, just a little bitty time out. Go to Apple Pods, click follow. Give us a little review. Type, even if it's like it's good. If that's the extent of your review, we'll take it. And even if it's not good, add a word there. We'll take that too. So we look forward to your support moving forward because you're going to want to stick around. We got the guest list coming up. It's getting fun because the inbound calls are coming in. Hey, what about this guy? Or, hey, I'd love to be on your show. And I'm like, who are you? And then they tell me their name and I'm like, oh my God, yes. So it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to the next couple months here for sure.
Yeah, they're exciting.
And no disrespect to the past because our past guest list is pretty impressive. It's fun. You're good with it, right?
I love it. I'm excited. I can't wait. And we got some exciting news because we might have a change of scenery while we do these.
Oh, we're growing. Actually, it just means I got to get out of my house. My home office has hit its limit. I miss my old building some days. Some days. I don't miss staffing, but I miss the space. Because I thought I'd be good working from home. Have you ever worked from home, you yourself?
No. And I don't think I could do it. I always act like I want to do it, but I think I'm too much of a busybody, and I don't think I have any prayer to work from home.
Yeah, I thought it'd be cool, and it was fine for a while because it's like, I'm going to slow it down. And no, I need I need engagement.
The only reason I would want to work from home is probably so I could take advantage of being at home and not actual work. Like when I have to run a kid somewhere or I have to do something around the house or I just don't feel like doing something.
You get a waterproof headset, take your conference calls in the pool.
You know, I might start the barbecue pit. I might barbecue breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I mean, I think working from home, I'm not lazy, but I don't know that I'm the guy to be as productive at home than I would be at the office.
Yeah, it's interesting, you know, because so many of our peers are going through it, and I think that this COVID obviously changed everything. I'm wondering where work from home is going to be in 5 years. You know, it's going to be interesting. Anyway, I want to give some shout-outs here. We're down here at Maggie O'Brien's. Arch Madness is upon, so they're filling up. It's apparently college basketball. Did you know people like college basketball? I didn't know that.
I love it. I love it. And our Missouri State Bears blew out Murray State today.
Well, there you go. So you know more than I do.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate. We're down here at Maggio's. Come check it out. Ice cold beers. The Reuben is fire. It's an Irish pub. Get yourself a nice cold beer and get a Reuben. You'll love it. I want to thank Explore STL, Explore St. Louis. They are the kind of the tourism aggregator for the city of St. Louis, keeping us up to date with what's going on event-wise, park-wise, concert-wise, food-wise, hotels, et cetera, which brings me to, I want to talk about a destination which we hit the other day. It's good friends of ours, one of our favorite places, and it involved one of our favorite food groups, that being cheeseburger.
That is a food group, and that is one of our favorites.
Urban Chestnut the other day. Give me the lowdown, because Gerard Kraft and crew are over there slinging burgers at the Midtown Urban Chestnut location. You went with the good old fashioned, right?
Well, let me tell you the lowdown. So the Shine and the boys, who have the two great breweries, best beer in St. Louis, bar none, they pair up with Gerard Kraft in their renovated kitchen in Midtown, and he opens up a smash burger place called Brass Burger STL. And let me tell you, it's the KISS theory. I went with stock cheeseburger.
Yep.
2 patties. They ask you if you want 1 patty, 2 patties, or 3 patties. I did the 2 patty smash burger. Shoestring fries, nothing fancy.
Yep.
And some cheese sauce. And I'm telling you what, boy, oh boy. Mr. Max down there across from Forest Park has some competition.
Well, I was sitting there. In fact, I took a couple photos of the experience. I was watching your face. I was looking at the burger, and I'm like, damn, that looks good. You know, there's a certain telltale. You know, the cheese is just melted enough. But I was watching your face, and I believe your eyeballs kind of perked up a little bit.
Yeah.
I took a little bite of it. Yeah, it's fire. So congrats, guys. Keep it up. If you're looking for a day out, go to the beer garden, get yourself a burger and drink, and have some cold yellows.
We got plenty of city games coming up, and I'm telling you guys what, on a day, hot game, sweating, that's the perfect place to go get an early bite, sit on the beer garden, have some beers, and really it's not terribly expensive.
No, it's not. And here's the deal, too. Get your steps in. Park down there, way easier to park. 15-minute walk, max, to the stadium. 15 minutes back while everybody's waiting to get out of their lot. You get to go back down to Urban Chestnut, have a beer, and you're out there.
Yeah.
I want to bring up on Friday the 5th, April 5th, we're going to be over at Soccer Park. It is Meet the Steamers night at Soccer Park. And we've been kindly offered to MC this thing. Now, they will regret that decision.
I don't think so.
Maybe. I hope not. Nah, we'll be good. We've actually talked to most of them. But go to SLSG, go to St. Louis Scott Gallagher, their webpage, sign up because it's going to be limited attendance. It is a who's who of your favorite early 80s steamers. We're going to be up there asking the PG-13 rated R questions all across the board, and there'll be a little bit of Q&A opened up to the room. So check it out. This is all part of Explore. I'm bringing this up because get yourself a hotel room. These are the kind of staycation events. Get out of your comfort zone. Get the babysitter. Go get yourself a little boutique hotel and go see this stuff. Go eat good food. Go do fun things.
Yeah, that's well said.
Hey, want to thank also Crescent Plumbing Supply. They're back. They are back supporting the show. When we talk with them, it's just a good fit. And the reason why, all of us have houses that shit breaks all the time. And most importantly, we have kids that really destroy shit. So that 5x8 full bath that really needs a spray down shower, hit them up. You got dogs, and you got to hose them down, hit them up. You got a kitchen that just isn't cutting it, hit them up. CrescentPlumbingSupply.com. They got a couple showrooms all around the area. Thanks for supporting the show. And that brings us to our favorite Hill mortgage specialist, ThePinnacleLoans.com. Chris, Bill, Pete.
The cadets, the cadet boys. I got
and
three.
The Billiken.
Oh no, I got a couple today that I would like to spray the infield, as you say.
Yep.
I can go if you want me to start. I can go.
Yeah, you go first.
I can go non-soccer or soccer. Which one you want to do first?
Let's do all of our soccer ones first, because I definitely got a non-soccer one to close myself out.
Okay, so Pinnacle Point number 1, soccer. This was announced today, yesterday, or just recently here. The Dallas Cup is one of the premier youth soccer tournaments in our country and has been for years. Yours truly won it at under 12. Let's go. But this gets a lot of international draws. And the under 19 Gordon Jago Supergroup was announced. And guess who's in it? I'm going to just read the names. It's only 12 teams. There's only 2 teams from America. St. Louis City, yours truly here, is going to field an under 19 squad.
Nice.
Be anxious to see who makes that. And FC Dallas is the only 2 American teams that are in the tournament. There's a Botafogo from Brazil. Sao Paulo's in it. Toronto FC, our friends of the North. Eintracht Frankfurt's in it. CF Monterrey. Fulham's in it. Santos Laguna's in it. There is some hammer world-renowned clubs in this thing. And that's going to be a fun deal, dude. That's going to come up here in the summer of 2024. Keep an eye out on that schedule, and I'm sure some of those games will be televised as well.
Yeah, no, it's cool because a lot of these macro tournaments are really bringing in more and more and more the foreign talent, which says something about our soccer here, from facilities to quality of the competition, et cetera. So congrats, Dallas Cup, great event. My first Pinnacle Point of the day has to do with our favorite curly redhead, Mr. Josh Sargent.
I thought you were going to talk about Alexi Lalas. He's not your favorite redhead?
He's 1B.
Okay, Josh, Mr. Sargent.
Mr. Sargent, it was announced today that he is up for the Championships Player of the Month.
Up for it?
Yeah. No, I know.
They're even voting?
Well, they will because, remember that kind of revolution thing back in 1776?
Yeah.
That might sway some votes. But anyway.
I'd like to see the asshole that doesn't vote for him.
I can tell you what they look like.
He scores every game.
I know. So congrats to Josh. Looking forward to that. We will know. I think they said the vote comes out on the 8th, which as of today's recording should be tomorrow.
Okay.
So we'll find out. Congrats to him. Either way. You got another one?
Yeah, I do. I got one non-soccer related.
Let's hear it.
Forbes released their highest paid actors of 2023. And if this isn't the most 2024 thing ever, the list was from 2023, but, of course, released a year later. You want to guess who the top 3 were?
It's Kung Fu Panda on there.
I don't even know who that is. No.
That would be animated Jack Black
okay,
as a
no,
panda.
He's not. Okay. So I'm just going to tell you. I'm going to take all the guesswork out of it. The best part about it is this is the most interesting stat of it.
Let's hear.
The top paid guy did not have a movie theater or a movie in the theater in the year of 2023.
So streaming?
Yes, streaming. And I'll tell you the platform as I go through it. All right, number 3 is Tom Cruise with $45 million.
Okay.
Number 2.
Hit me.
Margot Robbie.
Oh, yeah.
She $59 million. And then, okay, drum roll, please. Number 1 paid actor from the Forbes list from year 2023 who didn't have a movie in the movie theater for the whole calendar year.
Who?
Adam Sandler with $73 million. And it's because and I just know this because I'm not living under a rock, it's because of his numerous Netflix things that he has that have been all pretty successful. That's just amazing to me. That's so 2024 of the highest paid actor. Remember when we were growing up?
Well, along those lines. The other day I was listening to Jason Bateman was on Dax's pod, the Armchair Expert, and they were talking about Smartless, and basically it was, hey, this Smartless thing you're doing, apparently he's doing really well, ha ha ha. How good has it been? And Bateman was like, flat out, it's made me the most money I've ever made on any one thing. He goes, and we just were killing time. So I think that, like,
in their pajamas.
Yeah, and piecing together the fact that Adam Sandler is, he's a universe in and of himself.
Yeah.
But he's not on the big screen. He's not in a Warenberg, right? And then you hear a story like Bateman and Will Arnett and Just Jack, right? What they're doing on Smart, like they're making all three of them made more money on Smartless than they have on any other show, movie, otherwise.
Wow.
In their whole careers. So all of this is shifting.
Yes.
Now, my last pinnacle point of the day is going back old school, like brass knuckles, literally brass knuckles. And that is announced today, and I'm sure you saw it. Logan Paul versus the Iron Mike Tyson has been booked for, I believe, August.
I will be getting that fight.
Mike Tyson is old. Let's just put it that way.
He's in his 50s, right?
What do you think is going to happen?
I don't know.
Because Paul is literally surprised every single person he stepped into the ring with.
Is it Logan or Jake? Because we need to firm that up. Because I think Logan's more the wrestler guy. Jake's the boxer, fighter guy.
I think you're right. Let's see here. Tyson. Hold on. Where's Paul? There we go. It is. Here we go. It's not moving. Anyway, Mike Tyson in the ring again. Jake Paul. My bad. Saturday, July 20th. Live on Netflix.
Live on Netflix, huh?
Which just now reading that's another aha moment. Netflix kicked the shit out of all other streaming services with all of their, revenue, stock, everything else. Mm-hmm. And they said, you know what, one thing we're kind of thinking about is live sports. Well, guess what? Now they're in it.
Wow. That's a must watch. I cannot wait to watch that. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a fight fan, if you hate the Pauls, if you hate the YouTube stuff, if you hate anything that they're involved in, their mouth, the publicity, you're going to love watching that. Or at least I am.
Crazy. Okay, now I'm going to do this one more time here with the phone-in pinnacle point of the day. I had one from Rick Hartime, but I'll be honest, I don't know what happened to it. So, Rick, if you're listening, send me another one. But our good old friend, Mr. Glover, he was up for the task again.
Oh,
so
round two?
Hey, if you're listening, people, we're dead serious. Record your pinnacle point of the day. Just text it to me, email it to soccerdadpod@gmail.com, or at gaslightstl.com. That's soccerdadpod@gaslightstl.com. And we'll play these things on the air. So here we go. This is round two, our phoned-in pinnacle point of the day. Oh. All right, here we go.
My pinnacle point of the day for my guys at Soccer Dad Podcast. This is Jason Glover. What if James Brown didn't feel good? What if Journey stopped believing? What if Stacy's mom was actually Jesse's girl?
I don't know. That's Jason Glover, the director of St. Louis Steamer Soccer Club, with some free time.
I like it. It's better than the orange slice one.
I'd say. It's a tie. How about we go?
There's a lot of thinking to do there during the break.
I thought Stacy's mom had it going on. I didn't know about Jesse's girl thing though. Hey, thanks for tossing that one down our way, Mr. Glover. We are going to go ahead and take a quick break. Got our guests rolling in here. We're going to get some refills. We're going to roll ourselves out. A little more rock and roll. Thanks for listening. Like, share, review, follow. We'll catch you on the flip side. Hey everyone, buying a home, it's kind of a big deal. Never has there been more competition to buy, so few homes to choose from, all made worse by an uncertain interest rate landscape. Now that you're short a bedroom for the third kid, you're in the wrong school district, and a walkable corner pub isn't nearly close enough, it's time to reach out to the Pinnacle Loan Team for help. They work with a network of agents that have their feet on the ground across the whole region and have a number of loan products that are cost-effective with a process that is simple. Basically, they've got you covered from start to finish. So when it's time to buy, visit thepinnacleloans.com. That's thepinnacleloans.com. Simply the best in home loans.
I like it. Hey, the music's upbeat.
You like it?
Yeah, that's 2 in a row. Usually you have some sappy song and we have to figure out what it is.
Jared, you don't know this, but I'm going to tell you now. I pick the songs based on your mood.
Okay.
I do. We are back. We've got our guest here with us. We've got a couple refills down here at Maggie O'Brien's, who is in the middle of, what's the tournament again?
Arch Madness.
Arch Madness.
It's the Missouri Valley Conference conference basketball tournament. Automatic bid. Winner goes to the NCAA tournament. It's we talk about Explore St. Louis in this show a lot. This is probably a pretty big event for Explore St. Louis. This is heads and beds.
Heads and beds, baby.
Yes.
That's all that matters.
Yep.
No, more matters than that. But that helps the bottom line.
Yeah, it sure does.
Been going on for a long time.
It
right?
has been.
Yeah.
Many years.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I'm rolling us in with a little bit of Old School Sabbath, Iron Man, in honor of our Iron Man, our guest today, Mr. Jim Tietjens. Thanks for joining us, Jim.
Hey, it's great to be here.
I know we've been kind of hit and miss here the last 30, 40 days or so. Life is getting in the way a little bit, huh?
Yeah, I appreciate you staying the course. Been battling some viruses for the last 60 days and actually had a death in my family about 2 weeks ago. So
sorry to hear that.
Had a lot of challenges to overcome, but thanks for hanging with me and being patient.
No, absolutely. I think that's kind of a theme of the show today. Now, you laid it out there. A few challenges would put it lightly.
Right.
So really looking forward to this. Just to kind of, as I mentioned off mic, we'd like to kind of set the table a little bit for the listener. They're reading their screen. They see Jim Tietjens. They see, school and NASL and SLU and all this stuff. But give us a little bit of background, a little bit of path. You were a Southsider, a far Southsider. Bring us up to speed on where you grew up and where you started playing.
Right. So I grew up in Oakville, way down south. I went to St. Margaret Mary Alacoque Catholic Church.
Okay.
And I grew up without a father. My father passed when I was 21 months old from the same heart ailment that took the lives of my sister and actually my other sister at this point. But so my father passed when I was very young, so I grew up down there, played soccer at St. Margaret Mary for 8 years. There were two very strong sort of feeder schools down south. It was St. Margaret Mary and it was St. Francis of Assisi. So that was before Queen of All Saints, was even a parish. So both very strong soccer schools. Sort of my father figure for grades 1 through 8 was my soccer coach. And he was the same coach the entire time. Became a mentor, a respected coach, kind of a guy that guided me, and really kind of for, not 100%, but served as a father figure to me somewhat because he was with me for 8 years, and he followed us grades 1 through 8. We were very successful. Went on to high school, Oakville High School, played there for 4 years. Jim Bokern was our coach. Our junior year, we won the state championship, and you're probably aware of that name, but at the time,
Oh yeah,
he was a professional player playing with the Stars. We were a bunch of young kids in awe, and he was sort of just molding us into a group that learned to believe in ourselves. And we had some really good players, and we competed very, very well with the Northsiders.
The Northsiders, you mean like Aquinas and Rosary?
Yeah, Aquinas, Rosary, even the Hazelwood guys.
Yeah.
A little bit before my time was the McClure guys that Al Trost coached.
Yep.
I remember my freshman year when Al brought his team out to Oakville to play, and I'm pretty sure that was the year they won state championship, but I was standing there a freshman just watching these guys get off the bus. You know, Larry Holsters of the world, Don Hubers, and many more. Yeah, just in awe, you know, and just they all had their stripes, their yellow Adidas stripes taken off their shoes, and they all had them polished up with their bags. And actually, we tied them that day out at Oakville, and you know, I think that was. Field wasn't the best shape, but we tied them. And
were any of the fields good back then?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
we called it Astro Clump.
That's funny.
So then in the high school years, you mentioned that your dad had passed when you were much younger.
Yes.
Your coach was your mentor going into high school. You know, how many siblings did you have as a kid through those years?
Right. So I had two sisters. They were both older than me. We both grew up. We all grew up in Oakville. We all went to St. Margaret Mary Catholic School. I had a sister, Karen, who was 2 years older than me, and a sister, Laura, who was 4 years older than me. My dad passed when he was 32 years old from the bad heart condition, and my sister, Karen, who was in the Navy at the time, at that time, the heart condition presented itself in her at about 30 years old, so she started undergoing treatment in California where she was, but she ended up also, succumbing to the bad heart disease and passing when she was 32 years old. So I was 29 at the time. It was post-soccer career.
Yep.
And I had, at that time when she passed, I pretty much, figured that it's coming to me, so start preparing for it. Because my dad 32, my sister 32. Don't be surprised, Jim, when it's coming. And I was ready, and, it helped. I had a positive attitude. I knew it was coming. It's like anything else you do in life. If you prepare for it, you have a pretty good chance of succeeding. If you learn about it and become familiar with it, not fear it. And that was sort of my approach.
Yeah.
I got two questions just on that front. First, how much did athletics and your athletic career growing up within the game prepare you for the battle? When you say stay positive, be prepared, just like in business even, be prepared for anything. How much did athletics put you in the right frame of mind to attack this battle?
Well, for me personally, I wasn't, in soccer as a goalkeeper, I wasn't a natural physical specimen, right? I was 5'11" and was a guy that had to try and outwork everybody else, and was very much a student of the game. And to some extent, you can get by with that for a certain period of time. I think you reach a ceiling where you can no longer, do any better than a certain level, especially when you get into pro ball. But at that time, I felt that it would give me percentage points. So the better position I would put myself in to survive, the more chance I have surviving. I always figured that the doctors are going to do, I learned about the doctors. I learned about transplantation.
Yeah.
And I knew that it could be very successful.
Okay.
And I figured if they did their job, and I was quite confident in them, and I did my job, I was going to turn the odds in my favor, even if it was 50-50, and you turn your odds in the favor of 60-40 or 70-30. I give myself a pretty good chance at that. And again, I'm nothing special. I just tried to accept what came to me and then figured out a way to deal with it. I know you guys have had challenges in your life.
Yeah, my second part of the question, my second question to it is along those same lines. We mentioned some of the names. We know all those names. We've had a lot of those guys on the show. We grew up playing soccer in the city, so we know your story, and we'll get more into it. Talking to those other guys about you, I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and the stuff that I bitch about on a daily basis, nothing compared to you. How did you stay so positive?
I was young, and I was in love, and I wanted to be a dad, and I wanted to be get married, a husband. So that was my focus, and I just, I would take my challenges one at a time and sort of compartmentalize them, right? To where they're going to be a challenge for a certain amount of time. It could be 4 months, it could be 6 months, it could be a year. But if I'm going to live a long life, which I planned on, it's just a short time out of my life. And, when it all started, I was 31. So I said, okay, I've got many years to go. So don't look at this as this giant mountain that I can't climb. Look at it as I'm climbing, a hill 1 year and get through that hill and, enjoying the next day and the next day.
Kudos to you.
So I'm really curious. I'm going to go back in time a little bit because I like framing these stories because I always wonder what the mindset of parents, right? Your dad had passed, so your mom is around at this time. When you're playing in high school and you win state your junior year and you go into your senior year and you're about to go play college and you end up going to SLU, what was your mom's role in those really formative, accelerated soccer years, given that your dad was gone, and kind of that fear of the genetics?
Well, I never really had the fear of the genetics at that time because I just playing soccer in high school and even going on to play in SLU. At that time, I was strong, I was healthy, I didn't feel anything. I was with my friends, I was doing something I love. I never thought of it coming at that time. It really wasn't until my sister passed that I knew it was coming. But you bring up the most important person in my life, which is my mom. And it's hard to put it in words, but my mom just taught me in a calm way that to never back off or back down from an issue, a problem.
Golly.
And it's really hard to put it in words, but she didn't do this in a rah-rah way. It's just that the way she approached life and dealt with 3 kids and no husband, and she was 32 years old. I just never saw her blink, and it just was it was just in my DNA that I handled it the same way.
So I've asked this question in a multitude of scenarios and individual stories, but I'm really curious about yours, and that is your senior year or whatever point it was. When you knew you were going to play soccer at the collegiate level, because college to parents was such an important thing. Talk about the day, talk about the phone call, talk about the letter, or maybe the knock on the door, whatever your story is. What did it mean to you, and what was that situation for your mom when she found out that her son is going to be going to St. Louis University to get an education and play soccer? What was that like? What was that moment?
I just remember the day that Harry Keogh and Val Palazzaro, and I'm pretty sure Miguel de Lima. Miguel's a legend in St. Louis. I'm sure you guys have heard of him.
All 3 of those guys are.
Yeah, we're sitting in my living room with my mom and dad, and my mom is someone that's quite involved and quite engaged. And kids are always, "Come on, Mom, tone it down," and she was proud as can be, and she was just busting at the seam.
Did she hug you first or Harry?
She hugged me first, but she certainly hugged them. But there was a bigger challenge related to that because that was the first year that the high school players were ever drafted in the North American Soccer League. So the first 2 high school players drafted in the North American Soccer League was Perry Vonderbeck, number 1, who's a good friend of mine today. I talked to him yesterday.
Yeah.
And myself. So we were the number 1 and 2 for high school players. Perry, of course, went on to go play at Tampa Bay and had a great career.
Tremendous career.
They flew me out to California with another St. Louis and a great friend of mine, Johnny Hayes, who was another Aquinas guy. Who was a great friend because we played on the junior national team together with Perry. Perry was the captain. But they flew both Johnny and myself out there and showed us around and showed us a good time. But we both chose to go to to go stay home and go to St. Louis U. And I remember that real quick, the headline in the paper that day was Tietjens signs goes surfing. So I was saying I signed for SLU, but so I went surfing because they took me out there, and yeah, Harry wasn't pleased with that.
I always think of Jerry Maguire, right? Surfer ski, Kush. You know,
You got to tell the story, because this is a funny story that I've heard secondhand, and I'd love to hear it from you. Back in those Oakville days in the South, Oakville was Oakville, and you had the big O on your guys' shirt or your jackets.
Yeah.
And the big bad North County boys that were, signing pro deals and going to SLU, the pedigree up there, all the state titles, the gear. What did the O mean after you guys won that state championship?
It meant there was no teams better than us in St. Louis. But, I mean, honest to God, most people don't know that we beat Rosary twice that year.
Really?
So we played them in the preseason tournament, which used to be, I think, the CYC tournament. We played them at Forest Park. That tournament was at Forest Park.
Yeah.
And we beat them 1-0. But most people didn't know that. So we went into state final and beat them, again 1-0. That was 2 in the same year.
I thought all you old timers from back in the day, we got this narrative on our show that everybody was real humble, and that I liked it when you told all those guys. It means we didn't lose to anybody.
Actually, and I am very humble. But
I know you are. I'm just giving you trouble.
I made that up, but let me tell you, it was a big deal. We would get in the car, 6 or 7 of us, and we'd head up to Coke Park to watch Rosary play Oakville, and just watch the game and admire the players. We knew the players on every team, and I mean, they were both loaded, and the intensity of those games, it was a blast. And we all became friends in the soccer community.
so let's talk about that transition then, because you were given the opportunity, you were drafted, you chose SLU, you came back, you wanted to get some college in. Talk about the why. Did you want to grow a little bit more? Did you want to get a little experience? Was it just not a good fit? Was it not the right team? What was going on with the decision to go ahead and come back to SLU? And then talk about, you had a relatively short term at SLU to go play pro.
Right.
Walk us through that.
Especially when Perry goes and takes the ink.
Yeah, I think it probably was a little bit different scenario between two of us. Perry was drafted number 1. There's going to be a difference in money from number 1 to number 2, which I don't really. The money from my part was very, very little. It wasn't worth doing it at all. And I think I was a little bit intimidated about going all the way out to California, being that far away from home, that I had to give it a chance. I had to go to college. I had to try and give it a chance.
So you get to SLU, you have a couple of good years. Obviously, you end up going back to the NASL. Were you just ready? Was it like was the money right, or were you mentally right? Were you physically right? Why go back after 2 years?
That's a really good question, and I think that my first year at SLU, I had a good year. I think my second year, I was nominated. Somehow I was an All-American. I don't think it wasn't a first team, but I don't know how it happened. But I didn't see myself developing, partly because of myself, partly because of the surroundings I was in. It just wasn't the environment I wanted to be in terms of being on campus down at SLU in the city, a little bit different than it is today. I'll be honest with you, I don't feel I was playing well. I don't feel I was developing, and I think I could have done better. So I made the decision to leave on my own, because I thought that, I was stagnant, I wasn't developing, and then I needed to challenge myself more. And, at the time, some people weren't happy about it, and, I was young. I wanted to play professional soccer. I certainly could have handled it in a different way in terms of how I communicated that I was leaving SLU. I wish I would have done it a little bit differently, because Harry Keogh deserved more respect than I gave him there. So I wish I could have done it differently, but I think the time was right for me. If I was going to play professional soccer, if I was going to have any success at all, I think that timing was right for me.
So you don't go to the West Coast, you go south.
down to Fort Lauderdale.
How did you end up there? Given did the draft pick not carry through, or was there a transfer, or were you kind of re-entered into the draft?
You're re-entered into a supplemental draft. So there was there's a lot you don't know. That was many years ago, but I could have gone unpicked, and then I would have been out of luck because I'd already withdrawn from school and went in the professional draft. So it was a supplemental draft. Fort Lauderdale drafted me. I went down to their spring training, which started about the same time baseball spring training starts, and had to make the team. And there was really 4 goalies on the team at the time, and I ended up making it. And they kept 3 goalies. It was Arnie Mouser, an old national team goalie back in the day.
Yep.
There was a guy by the name of Steve Zerhusen, who was a very good goalie from up in Baltimore, and myself. And Steve was hurt, had back surgery, so it was myself and Arnie pretty much the first year. But in the middle of the first year, the Dutch coach, Cor van der Hart, was a great Dutch coach. He brought in a goalkeeper by the name of Jan van Beveren. And Jan van Beveren had a very limited exposure in the U.S. because, as you remember, we always saw Soccer Made in Germany on Channel 9.
Correct.
So that was our education on soccer. Never saw a Dutch game, but I quickly come to find out that Jan is one of the best 3 or 4 goalies in the world, and the only reason he didn't play on the Dutch national team is him and Cruyff had problems, and Jan was a no-nonsense guy, and Cruyff really named the team, and Jan didn't go for that, and he basically kept him out.
Well, those early days in the NASL, and I thought you got blue Adidas shoes on, I noticed when you walked in. How come you don't have gold stripes? Because tell our listeners, you're a young rookie in that league, and I know you were a backup, and you got to play some time there. Who's the sweeper in front of you?
That was the first practice.
First practice?
Gerd is a character. He's having fun in practice. He's a good guy, so he's sweeping in front of me. And by nature, I would be giving instructions to my sweeper, and I'm not a shy guy when I'm playing in goal. And, you're playing 8-on-8 with big goals, and, it's your first professional practice. You don't want to let any goals in. You want to be vocal, and I'm shouting, giving Gerd's directions, on where to go. So it was a fun time.
We're 4 years earlier or 5 years earlier, whatever the math is. You're winning a state title for the black and gold at Oakville. I mean, how many people on the team have those gold striped Gerd Mueller shoes on? They matched your jerseys.
Just about everyone.
Now you're playing with them 4 years later.
I can share a quick story if you guys are okay with it.
Absolutely.
That state final, another player on our team got a brand new pair of Puma Pele King Pele. Yeah. And they also had the gold Puma swoosh on it. And I took them off. I took my gold Adidas off that day, and the only day in my life that I've ever wore Adidas was wore Puma was the state final.
Wow.
And it was so sweet, the leather on that shoe. It didn't need no breaking time. It was brand new. Played with it. Yeah.
So I got to ask, you're in the NASL. You got Gerd Mueller in front of you. I mean, things are just this balance of, you were really cognizant of your decision-making process. Obviously, you mentioned you would have handled it a little bit differently in hindsight, but you got there. You're there. You've got world-class players on your roster coming at you. Who was the player that within the league that you were really excited to challenge, to take, like, come my way, let me see if I can stop you? Who was that guy at that time for you?
Well, there was a player played from Canada. I know you've heard his name, Branko Segota.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Branko Segota, we played a national team, under 17 national team. We played him in Honduras in the World Cup qualifying. Johnny Hayes, myself, and Perry Vonderbeck. And, Branko turned out to be an amazing player. And he was on their youth national team at 17, and he ended up playing on the Strikers, I think, either end of his 17th year or just turned 18. But, I know it doesn't sound like a huge thing, but, we held Branko off the scoring, sheet that day. We played him in Honduras in front of 50,000 people.
Wow.
And that was, again, in the NASL, to be honest with you, I didn't see a ton of playing time when Jan van Vederen was on the team. But I'd say holding Broncos scoreless was a pretty, great accomplishment.
Let me ask you one last question, then we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back after this. But I got to ask, out of all those games, in front of 50,000, in front of, however many numbers, with Bronco on the field or Pele on the field or whoever on the field, right? Were any of those games more valuable to you emotionally than that junior year state championship game?
No, none at all. I mean,
as the underdog,
we were teammates that day, and we just had our anniversary alumni party back in February, and we raised $5,500 for Cardinal Glennon's Children's Hospital.
Good for you.
And we're brothers today. We were teammates
awesome.
then, and we're brothers today. And those guys, you talk about my book Saves, those guys who were with me through every trial and tribulation I had when I needed them. So
we're going to get into more of that.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to take a quick break, a little Bob Seger. We're going to get some refills down here at Maggie O's. And we're going to talk saves and more. So we'll see you on the flip side.
She took his hand and she led him along that golden beach.
I'm Max, and I'm 9 years old. When I'm not playing soccer, jumping on a trampoline, or playing Xbox, with permission of course, I listen to the Baked In podcast with Josh Allen. Josh talks to some of the most incredible business leaders in St. Louis. From Maxine Clark of Build-A-Bear to Gerard Kraft, the chief flavor officer for my favorite team, St. Louis City SC. There's something for everyone. If you are interested in the secret sauce of success, check out the Baked In podcast. Now, back to those old guys.
Everybody.
Do it.
Everybody,
Come on.
have you heard?
We're back. It kind of feels like almost like a Keishi Friday, right?
Yeah, this feels like KC Friday, and this is also from Blades of Glory. It's one of my favorite scenes.
Oh my God. Blades of Glory. You really brought that up. Well, we are back. We're down here at Maggie O'Brien's, across the street from the new Mecca City Park. Jim, have you been to a game yet?
To one of the city games? I was 3 last year, yeah.
Nice.
I went to the game where it was absolutely freezing.
Oh, yeah. I think we've been to those.
I went to the game where there was the threat of the tornado, and we ended up in the basement at Union Station.
Oh, yeah. And then we came
Oh,
out
that
and
was the
hammered them.
Cincinnati game.
And I went to the game where we just hammered Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I think it was... Yeah, I forget what the score. We hammered them.
Yeah, we came out and just put it on them right from the start. The Supporter Shield winners from that year.
Yeah, sorry,
so
Pat.
I want to go back to and just start off, and then JB will get us into some other things. But the Fort Lauderdale days. I know that you kind of came in at the end of the NASL, and then we need to talk about the Sun because I think we want to hear the stories of the championship. Yeah. But I think, we want to get your opinion on the GOAT coming over and playing in that same region of our country. And do you know, my friend, that stadium that he played on with the Strikers is the same stadium that they currently play at right now.
Miami?
Yep. Did you know that? And I think you have to tell us the story, but I think, is the field different? Is it?
So the field's changed the configuration a bit, where when I was playing, the goals ran from east to west.
Okay.
East to west. Now I believe they've changed from north to south. But when they're showing an overhead shot, because the airport's right there, Executive Airport, you can really tell it's the same ground. Now they fixed a lot up. I was kidding with my buddy who was a trainer down when I was down there. He still lives down there. I was watching the game on TV and communicating back with him in text. I said, a player got hurt. I said, Eddie, I expected you to run out with your little black bag when he got hurt.
What's in that spray can that they just miraculously get right back up?
Yeah, no kidding. Liquid ice, right?
So what is your take on Lionel Messi coming to our North American game here?
I'm still trying to kind of think through it and assess what's going on and what's the long-term impact going to be. Obviously I was excited as anyone was to see what he did. when he came here and just scored goals, entertained the fans, drew fans. In a sense, it's kind of what happened when Pele came many years ago. But at some point in time, I've got to ask is like, what's it going to do to the game in America and the development of the game in America and the development of the American player? When I look at that team in Miami, I don't know how many Americans are playing. Is it going to give the game a boost for the next 10 years as when Pele came, what happened there? But now you look at all the players there at Inter Miami, and I'm just going, I'm kind of seeing something almost repeat itself that happened when I was young, and I'm not sure it's the solution.
No, I agree. I think the optics and the jury is way still out on this thing, because the economic impact, I think, is undeniable. However, just because you look at ticket sales and you look at Apple TV deals and all this stuff, what does that really mean for soccer as a whole? It's good for the owners, it's good for the league, it's really good for Apple, and it's really good for Messi. But I think they haven't really laid out a really good case or a story that is like, well, here's how we're going to make this better. And that's what bothers me. And you were referencing, kind of the parallels between, obviously you're alluding to NASL and what was going on then. If you had the consulting mic, you had all the decision makers in the room, give us 30 seconds, 60 seconds of don't do what we did and here's what you should do.
Yeah, I don't know if I have the answer, but the one thing that concerns me the most is, when you look at, and I'm a national team guy. I want to see us win the World Cup one year, and I look at what's going on now with our national team and what went on then. And we had you talked about the team of the 90s. And there was a year when I think we made it to the final 8, and we're really close to going to the final 4. I think Tony Meola might have been in goal, but, and I saw the team, that got knocked out, and I'm like, what's happening? What's happening to why aren't we developing and having teams that are competing and are getting knocked out in the first round? So, I wish I had the answer, but it doesn't seem to me like, we've got all these kids playing in different states, right? We've got all these academies and all these clubs and this and that, but, who from St. Louis is on the national team? Well, I know we have Steve Sargent, who's
Josh,
on and off.
Yep.
Who else do we have?
Tim Ream.
I said Steve. I'm sorry, Josh Sargent.
Yep.
Tim Ream.
Who's probably long in the tooth. His days are numbered on the national team, let's be honest. He belongs there now.
Right. And so what are we doing to create players? We got this system and people are making a lot of money. But why aren't we creating players that are making it to the final 16, the final 8, things like that? So I'm just a little concerned that, what we're seeing now, it's entertaining. There's a new generation of soccer moms, soccer dads, right? They're all in, their kids are in it, and it's exciting. Messi's coming to town, we're going to buy a pink shirt, and so on and so forth. But what's really happening? Are we developing the game in our country? And I guess we are to some extent because we got guys playing all over the world.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's one of the arguments that the pro camp or the pro U.S. soccer or pro development will say. Well, look, our top 25 players arguably are playing in the highest on the best teams in the world. You look at what Pulisic is doing in Milan right now. Look at Tim at Fulham. Look, take your pick. I mean, the list goes on.
Weston's in good form.
Yeah, Weston's in good form. So, at no point in the history of our game, from a U.S. soccer standpoint, have we had that many players playing at that pedigreed of a level. So there's that, but it's not
translating to results within our men's national team group.
Right.
Yeah, and there was an online debate going on, and I was just kind of reading it, and somebody was talking about playing styles, which has always been my argument. I'm like, look, our biggest problem is we're so big. Northeast soccer is different than Midwest soccer, which is different than Southwest soccer, on and on and on. And Texas has its own thing. And somebody said, well, why does this work in other nations? And somebody put up a map, and they were like, well, the Netherlands is the size of Maryland. And it's like, well, they're all right there.
Right.
So, moving forward, like, what would you like to see at the youth level?
I think you're going to be the perfect guy to answer this, because your whole life in your disorder, in your illness, in your business, it's those countries that JB are referencing. From an early age, as a collective group, they're preparing. They're preparing to win the World Cup. Are we really preparing?
They might not be competing till a certain age. They're preparing and they're learning the game until they get to a certain point. And then when they're at that point to be kind of let go, then, which is probably like a teenager, 15, 16 years old, they've already learned the tactics of the game and a lot of the skills of the game. But now those athletes, right, that are really athletes that really like to compete, they're already there, but now they can be unleashed, and they've already got the skills. And I just think that, over in Europe, they don't play full-size games. They'll play, they'll change the size of the goal depending on the age of the kids and the width of the field, the length of the field. So they're always touching the ball, touch. So I don't know. I think that has something to do with it, but I wish I had the magic, answer for you guys, but.
Well, if you don't, then appreciate you joining us.
We'll see you later. I'll grab a beer. But I think it has to do with something at the youth level, and how we start developing our players. I think sometimes we tend to be, I was guilty of it. I over-parented my kids, in terms of over-coaching them and wanting them to do well, and and it wasn't good. It wasn't good on them. So, again, it's I don't have the answer.
Well, let's shift gears a little bit, because I want to get into your book a little. And I was doing a little bit of research, and I read this one paragraph, and basically it sounds as if, okay, if we're going to go to the finish line of the chaos that you've lived, let me read this real quick, and it's nothing you don't know. Since the age of 32, Tietjens has had 2 heart transplants, kidney transplants, cancer twice, pneumonia more than a dozen times, and peripheral artery disease that has already led to the amputation of one toe. Period. So tell us the good side of this story. Let's go there.
Well, I will tell you the good side is right today I've got 2 shoes on. There was a 2.5-year period when I couldn't wear 2 shoes, and it was related peripheral artery disease. And I probably had the best last 3 years out of my life in terms of my feet, where I can do some cardio at the gym and things like that. So that's the good news. Now, there was a very difficult surgery in October and another surgery in November related to your peripheral artery disease. So that disease is when it prohibits from your waist down to your feet, prohibits blood flow. So your arteries tend to clog up in your thighs, and then from your knees down to your feet. And then there's no cure for PAD. It's not a disease that gets a lot of funding towards it. It's a worldwide epidemic. They say that 30% of the population has it. And now they're starting to, and spend more time looking at it. It's not something like leukemia and lymphoma, American Cancer Society, American Heart Association. So it's not branded right now.
Yeah.
And money isn't pouring. A lot of money isn't going towards that. But now doctors all across the world are coming together and starting to look at it more seriously.
So is that kind of? I mean, what I just read. I mean, one transplant of anything is a big deal, let alone a heart transplant twice, and then kidney transplant. So let's go to the beginning of this. When you were in your early 30s,
right?
Obviously, you're out of soccer. You're working at Rawlings, I believe, and you knew that it was in the genes,
right?
talk about that time, that introduction to that physical chaos. What was that like for you?
Well, the introduction just happens. It happens. I happened to be in Herman, and I was walking up the hill, the Stone Hill Winery, big long hill, and I have to stop every 10 yards and put my hand on the railing, catch my breath.
Shit,
and
I'm out of breath.
I knew right then and there something was wrong.
Okay.
And I went home, and I think the next day or 2 days later, I went to the emergency room and got in there, and they started running tests. And it was no surprise at the time. It was just kind of, okay, this is, I was very accepting of it. I was with my mom, and I just, neither one of us were surprised. And, the doctor said, okay, hey, we're going to get a new pump. You got a pump that doesn't work, you get a new one. And that's kind of what I was expecting. And so that moment, it wasn't this big traumatic moment because I was expecting it. It's okay, it's here, let's go, good. Now we got to identify it. We got it identified, let's go through it, let's fix it, and let's get on with life.
Okay, so you kind of jump around in the timeline here because I'd like to know what we've just talked about have been a lot of negatives, and you went through your fair share of negatives, certainly, in your story. And knowing a little bit about it that I do and learning more today, can you talk, because this is a hereditary disorder, can you talk about the day that you found out that your daughter or your son, correct me if I'm wrong, they tested negative for having the gene, correct?
Right. Yeah, they did, and so there were it was myself, my dad, my 2 sisters, 4 people in the family were all positive. Okay, my sister has 2 kids, and they're positive for my heart gene, so it's 6 out of 6. And then my 2 kids come along, and we just decided to have 2 kids. We probably didn't think, my wife and I didn't think about as much as we should have.
Sure.
It was back there, but we're kind of young, and I don't want to say naive, but we wanted to have kids and be a family.
Yeah.
So we have those kids, and
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and the kids grow. Actually, my daughter is ready to go to college, and she's going to Florida State to play volleyball. And Division I volleyball, they got to see, are there any ailments in the family, history, da-da-da-da. Yes, we have one, but we got to get her tested, from a gene standpoint. So
okay.
We did that, and did that pretty quickly, and she came back negative, which was just absolutely hard for me to believe.
I would have loved to have been at that party that night.
Well, actually, I was on kidney dialysis at the time in Cincinnati working for Anheuser-Busch. One of the accounts I had was Kroger, so I'd be in Cincinnati a lot. And would have to schedule dialysis on the road because I was in need of a heart kidney at that time. And and I got it, and I mean, just crying, flooding tears in dialysis center.
What a great day.
So that all of a sudden, unbelievable, So she goes off to college, plays volleyball, is having a great time. And now it's, putting off my son's testing a little bit. He's still in his early 20s, so, if it follows the pattern, it's not going to hit till 32. So finally, we do decide to get him tested, and he comes back, and I actually didn't hear from the doctor for a while, and I had to contact the doctor and say, hey, what's the story? I haven't heard from you. He's been tested. He's like, didn't he tell you? Like, no, nobody's told me anything. Well, he's negative, so I guess they told him, and he never told me.
That sounds like a son.
He didn't think it was that big a deal. Yeah.
Thanks, jerk.
Your daughter's like, let's go have dinner, and your son's like, I'm out.
I'll be honest with you. At that moment when I found out, I went up to the church, and I talked to the priest, and I said, I just had a true miracle happen in my life. I say what you want, but this is a miracle that, 2 out of 2 are negative. So my son goes on, and he has a daughter, my granddaughter, Gia. She's 9 now, and she doesn't even have to be tested because my son doesn't have it.
They skipped it,
He cannot pass it on. So
God bless you. That's phenomenal.
That's amazing.
So in my family, like me, it's done. It's gone. Can never manifest itself in a child that my daughter has, or any daughter or son she has, and so on and so forth.
Tell us about the book. Why did you write it? When did you release it? Where can our listeners and fans find it? And it's not a soccer book.
No, it's not a soccer book.
Tell us about the book.
Yeah. So the name of the book is Saves, And actually, I didn't come up with a name. My partner, Jeff Kuchno, who co-authored the book with me, he came up with a name, and I was a little concerned about it at first, but it really started to grow on me. So really what the book Saves is about everyone that's come into my life to be part of my life, to kind of form who I am today, and I'll go back as far as St. Margaret Mary, like a soccer coach or a principal of school who was a figure to me, a mentor, a father figure to me when I needed one, which helped form who I am today. And I talked about my mom, helped form who I am today.
Yep.
Because none of these were all really tough battles, right? And you can't get through them by yourself. No way. And it's not just the medical field. It is a ton the medical field, but it's many more. It goes to many more people I've never met in my life. People that went out to get to harvest the Oregon down in Cape Girardeau. People in Cape Girardeau that had to keep the body healthy before the Oregon was harvested, who I'll never know. But, I like to refer to it as a chain of life. There's so many links in that chain when you're talking about transplantation that every link has to be strong. If one link breaks, the end result will never happen. So it's all about the people that have saved me, and I'm just trying to honor them by the book.
So let me ask you this then. Through that process of telling these stories, you were reflecting, you were transcribing these experiences and doing the research on the names or the time or the place, and you're putting it all down. When you stepped away from the process, was there like an out-of-body reflection? Did it ever hit you, like, when you add up all of those stories and all of those people, what did it mean to you outside of the book, just you as a human looking back at your own story?
I don't know why I'm deserving of any of this, other than the fact that God has more work for me to do on this earth. Why should I be afforded the opportunity to be a husband, a father, a grandfather? Why do I deserve all this? Because every time something like this has happened, there was a period in time when, do you remember Mark Dooley in St. Louis, who was a soccer goalie?
Yeah, I remember the name.
Yeah, and he was killed in a gun accident related to a rookie guy going to the police school, and something happened. There was an accident, and I got a call at 6. It was probably 6 weeks after my first transplant. My phone rang at 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning. It was one of the Dooley family members calling me to tell me what happened to Mark, and to tell me that they donated Mark's organ, his heart, his kidney, and his organ, whatever he could donate, because of me. So at that time, you're able to really kind of step back and just shake your head and say, why? Why is he gone and I'm there? My first heart transplant happened on July 2nd of 1992. There was one man in the hospital ahead of me. He was a tailor from down in St. Genevieve area. He worked for Hart Schaffner Marks. Just a great gentleman, older man, great gentleman, right? Well, he talked to doctors into letting him go home that weekend, 4th of July weekend. And as soon as he left the hospital, I moved up to number 1 on the list. And I got a heart that weekend that he could have had. And he ended up passing away 10 days later. And I remember the priest coming in and telling me that, Phil has passed. And you're just kind of, you can't.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, you're just sitting there going, why? He was such a good man. He married late. He actually had a daughter when he was older, but it was just, they were so happy together. So things like that, my second heart transplant, I have had the opportunity to meet my donor's mother. His mother's name's Cheryl. They live in Cape Girardeau. She raised her son Colton as an only child. He didn't have a father, and the father left at a very young age, and she was his she hurts every day because of this. And I remember getting a letter from her, and I had thought my heart came from St. Louis, from a drowning at Castlewood Park. And then I opened the letter in my room, and I was sitting on my bed, and a picture falls out. And the way the picture fell, it fell right on the floor in front of me, face up. And I saw it. And Colton Ellis that's my donor, he had Army fatigues on. He was a combat medic in the Missouri National Guard. And the combat medic's motto of the Missouri National Guard is, "We serve so others can live."
Yeah.
We serve so others can live. So even in his passing, he was still serving so others can live. And he had a 3-year-old son, and he took his own life from PTSD. So it's just stuff that, what makes you wonder why.
It's emotional,
why are they gone and I'm still here? So, I've tried to live my life in a way that honors everyone that had a part was saving my life. I make sure that. I think I had one drink last year, and it was on New Year's Eve, and it was putting a little bit of Bailey's in some hot chocolate, right? And I just, I've told his mother that I will never do a thing to damage his heart, And I'm at the gym as much as I can be at the gym, and, I just owe that to everyone who's taken care of me and saved me.
So is the book then? Is it safe to say that it's more of a thank you than a story?
I think so, and I hope that's. I almost think there's too much soccer in it, but there's some good stories to share.
You got some cool soccer stuff too, man.
There's some good stories to share, but yeah, it's absolutely it's just a tribute to everyone that is out there that has had a part in saving my life. I mean, I cannot be, and I know this is kind of cliche, but knowing what I know about my kids and them being free and clear of the bad heart gene, I can never be angry about what's happened to me in life. I mean, I really can't. I've got to look at it as, look, I'm still here. I shouldn't be here.
Yeah,
I'm still here.
Part of doing this show for us and all the wonderful guests that we have and all of their different stories is a little bit therapeutic for us. And JB, the next time I whine and complain about something that's so remedial, punch me right in the mouth. I mean, and I'm going to do the same to you.
Turn away because it'll be...
Hey, guys, I can whine with the best of them. Trust me.
Again, and I'm sure it's Amazon or... where's the best platform to find the book?
Yeah.
So, actually, right now, the book is at Deerbergs in Oakville.
Okay.
So I was determined to get it in Deerbergs in Oakville because, number one, I worked there when I was a kid.
Oh, that's cool.
Number two, I went to Oakville. I still live in Oakville, but it's there. But anyway, it's on Amazon.com. You can get it on Amazon. But we have our own website, www.inspiremestories.com. One word. Inspiremestories, one word, all together, .com. So the hardback and the softback are available there. If anyone knows me personally, I have books at my house, and so does Jeff Kuchno.
That's awesome.
So pretty easy.
Jim, thank you. This has been a lot of fun. We typically are in the ditch the majority of our conversations, and you brought us far out of the ditch here. Just an incredible story, and congratulations. Really, I mean, you living a balance of a charmed, hardworking life, and kudos to you, man.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I really had a good time, and you guys are very good at what you do, and maybe you'll come back someday if you guys have me.
Yeah, I'd love to have you back.
Soccer.
Anytime. We'll do it anytime.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening, Jared. Thank you for your time. And Maggie O'Brien's, thanks for hosting us. ExploreSTL.com. Go check it out for fun stuff. Crescent Plumbing Supply, fix that bathroom. And ThePinnacleLoans.com. They make it easy. They make it real easy. We're out of here. Billy Squire. Catch
Blades
you next
Glory.
time. Blades of Glory. See ya.
See ya.